In the depths of Antarctica's Research Station Omega, Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the quantum detection array's holographic display, her eyes reflecting the soft blue glow of countless dots representing the Ascari surveillance ships in high orbit. For 3 years, they had watched Earth, believing themselves invisible. For 3 years, humanity had watched them back. Another scout ship just dropped out of FTL. Her colleague, Dr. James Rodriguez, reported from his station. Same pattern as always. They're mapping our defensive capabilities, or rather, what they think are our defensive capabilities. Sarah nodded, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface as she tagged the new arrival. The Ascari were thorough. She had to give them that. They believed they were observing a primitive species barely capable of lunar exploration, cataloging Earth's modest satellite network and occasional interplanetary probes with dismissive efficiency. What they didn't know, what humanity had worked desperately to keep hidden, was that Earth's apparent technological limitation was an elaborate deception. 50 years ago, the discovery of quantum consciousness in deep-sea bacteria had led to a technological revolution unlike anything in human history. While the world maintained its appearance of slow technological progress, underground facilities like Station Omega pushed the boundaries of what was possible. "They're getting bolder," James noted, pulling up a 3-dimensional map of recent Ascari movements. "Their patrol patterns are tightening. Intelligence suggests they're preparing for something big." Sarah's jaw tightened. The Ascari Dominion had a reputation across the galaxy, one that humanity had learned about through quantum consciousness taps into their communications networks. They were conquerors, methodical and ruthless, who had subjugated dozens of civilizations under the banner of their supposed superiority. "Alert Command," she said, noting a subtle shift in the patrol patterns. "The algorithm predicts they'll make their move within the next 72 hours. Deep beneath the ice, in a chamber that didn't officially exist, General Maya Henderson received the report with grim satisfaction. The commanding officer of Earth's Quantum Defense Initiative stood before a massive strategic display, watching as red dots representing Ascari ships continued their dance around the planet. "They think they're being subtle," she mused to her assembled staff, "running tactical simulations based on our apparent capabilities. Their arrogance is exactly what we need." The general's aide, Lieutenant Carlos Vega, pulled up the latest intelligence summaries. "Their invasion doctrine is consistent across all their conquered worlds. They disable communication systems, eliminate military command structures, and force a quick surrender to minimize damage to infrastructure they want to exploit. And they've never failed," Maya added, a slight smile playing across her face. "Because they've never encountered anything like us." The Quantum Defense Network was humanity's masterpiece, a web of interconnected consciousness nodes that could predict and respond to threats faster than light itself. What appeared to be simple communications satellites were actually quantum nodes, capable of generating defensive fields that could bend space-time itself. In labs across the globe, disguised as routine research facilities, the final preparations were being made. Dr. Chen's team had developed quantum torpedoes that could track targets through dimensional space. Dr. Rodriguez had perfected a system that could turn the Ascari's own energy weapons against them. And in other facilities, other breakthroughs waited for the moment to reveal themselves. "Status report from Tokyo Underground," Lieutenant Vega announced. "Project Mirror Shield is at full operational capacity. Beijing, Moscow, and London confirm the same." General Henderson nodded, her eyes never leaving the strategic display. "And the civilian evacuation protocols? Ready to implement at a moment's notice. The public story about solar flare activity is in place. We can have every major population center underground within 6 hours." The deception had to be maintained until the last possible moment. As far as the world knew, these were routine civil defense drills. Only a handful of people in each government knew the truth, that humanity was about to face its greatest test. In orbit, the Ascari ships continued their patrol patterns, their crews confident in their superior technology, and their inevitable victory. Their sensors showed exactly what Earth wanted them to see, a planet of 7 billion humans going about their daily lives, unaware of the threat looming above them. But in stations like Omega, beneath the ice and rock and sea, humanity watched and waited. The quantum network hummed with potential energy, each node ready to activate at a moment's notice. In secure facilities around the globe, pilots trained on simulators that perfectly replicated Ascari ship designs, thanks to data gathered through quantum observation. Dr. Chen made one final adjustment to the detection array and sent her daily report to command. As she prepared to end her shift, a notification flashed across her screen. Another Ascari heavy cruiser had just arrived in the system. "They're not even trying to hide their military buildup anymore," James observed. "They'd really think we're blind to their presence." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Let them think that. The more confident they are, the harder they'll fall. As the Antarctic night settled over Station Omega, humanity's hidden defenders continued their vigilant watch. Above them, the Ascari fleet grew stronger by the hour, their ships moving into attack positions with practiced precision. They were preparing to add another primitive world to their empire, completely unaware that they were about to encounter something unprecedented in their long history of conquest. The next 72 hours would change the galaxy forever, and humanity was ready. The Ascari attack began at dawn. High Admiral Kextol of the Dominion's 7th Conquest Fleet stood on the bridge of his flagship, the inevitable Victory, watching with satisfaction as his ships moved into their final positions. The primitive detection systems of Earth showed nothing amiss. Their satellites continued their predictable orbits, their military bases maintained routine activities, and their population remained blissfully unaware of what was about to happen. "All assault groups report ready, High Admiral," his executive officer, Sub-Commander Vrelak, announced with characteristic precision. "Our stealth systems are functioning at optimal efficiency. The humans remain unaware of our presence." "Excellent." Kextol's facial ridges rippled with pleasure. "Commence the standard invasion protocol. Disable their communications first, then their military installations. I want this operation concluded before their next solar rotation." The first wave of Ascari ships descended into Earth's atmosphere, their advanced stealth systems making them invisible to conventional detection methods. They moved with practiced efficiency, each ship targeting key military and communication installations across the globe. But in Station Omega, Dr. Sarah Chen watched their approach with calm determination. "They're following exactly the pattern we predicted," she reported to General Henderson, "moving in formation to take out what they think are our command and control centers." "Excellent." The general's voice was steady. "Initiate Protocol Chimera. Let's show them what they're really dealing with." The first indication that something was wrong came when the Ascari's opening salvos passed harmlessly through their targets. What they had thought were Earth's primary military installations were nothing more than quantum holograms, perfect replicas designed to draw their fire. On the bridge of the inevitable Victory, alarms began blaring. "High Admiral." Vrelak's voice carried an unfamiliar note of panic. "Our weapons are having no effect. And we're detecting energy signatures, impossible energy signatures." Before Kexel could respond, the sky changed. What had appeared to be empty space around his fleet suddenly rippled, revealing massive orbital platforms that had been completely invisible to their sensors. Not cloaked, they had been there all along, existing in a quantum state that the Ascari's most advanced detection systems couldn't perceive. "This is General Maya Henderson of Earth's Quantum Defense Initiative," a calm voice announced across all Ascari frequencies. "We gave you 3 years to reconsider your invasion plans. You chose to ignore our capabilities. That was a mistake." The Quantum Defense Network activated. Thousands of nodes, disguised as simple satellites or space debris, suddenly linked together in a complex web of energy. The varied fabric of space-time around the Ascari fleet began to distort. "Impossible." Kextol roared as his ship's systems began failing one by one. "They're primitives. They barely have space flight. In Tokyo Underground, Dr. Yuki Tanaka activated the mirror shield system. Quantum fields captured the energy from the Ascari's own weapons and redirected it back at them with devastating precision. Ships that had launched attacks found their own energy signatures turned against them, their shields collapsing under forces they had never been designed to withstand. From Beijing's hidden quantum facility, Colonel Lai Wei orchestrated a ballet of automated defense drones, tiny machines that could predict and counter Ascari movements before they happened. The invaders found their carefully planned assault formations shattered, their ships trapped in quantum bubbles that nullified their advanced technology. All stations, execute containment protocols, General Henderson ordered. Remember, we want to minimize casualties. This is about defense, not destruction. The Ascari fleet, which had arrived expecting an easy conquest, found itself caught in a three-dimensional chess game where their opponent could see every possible move. Their stealth systems, the pride of their military technology, proved useless against quantum sensors that could track them through multiple dimensions of spacetime. In orbit, the inevitable victory shuddered as another quantum torpedo detonated nearby. High Admiral Vrelak reported, his voice shaking, "We've lost contact with 60% of the fleet. The humans, they're not just defending. They're hurting us." He was right. Earth's defense systems weren't just repelling the invasion. They were systematically forcing the Ascari ships into a specific region of space, using precisely calculated quantum fields to limit their movement options. In Station Omega, Dr. Chen monitored the containment procedure. "The quantum net is holding," she reported. "Their ships are being corralled exactly as planned. No casualties on either side yet." James Rodriguez nodded as he coordinated with defense stations worldwide. "Their technology is impressive, but it's all based on conventional physics. They never considered the possibilities of quantum consciousness integration." Above the planet, the remnants of the mighty Ascari fleet found themselves trapped in a web of forces they couldn't understand or counter. Their weapons were useless, their engines unable to break free from the quantum fields holding them in place. "This is your final warning." General Henderson's voice came again, calm and assured. "Your fleet is contained. Your weapons are neutralized. You have two options: surrender and open diplomatic channels, or force us to demonstrate the full capabilities of our defense systems." On the bridge of his flagship, High Admiral Kextol stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His mighty fleet, which had conquered dozens of worlds, hung helpless in space, contained by technology that shouldn't exist. The humans hadn't just prepared for this invasion. They had turned it into a carefully choreographed demonstration of power. And as the quantum fields tightened around his ships, Kextol realized that everything the Dominion thought they knew about Earth and its inhabitants had been wrong. Catastrophically wrong. The false dawn of invasion had revealed a truth that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. Humanity was not prey. They were something else entirely. The quantum containment field shimmered in Earth's orbit like a massive soap bubble, holding the remnants of the Ascari fleet in its gentle but unbreakable embrace. Inside Station Omega's command center, Dr. Sarah Chen watched as High Admiral Kextol's flagship, the inevitable Victory, finally powered down its weapons systems. "They're standing down," she reported, her voice carrying a mix of relief and satisfaction. "All 73 remaining vessels have deactivated their offensive capabilities." General Henderson nodded, her eyes fixed on the strategic display. "Begin Phase 2. Dr. Rodriguez, initiate the quantum communication bridge." The technology they were about to reveal would change the fundamental understanding of communication across the galaxy. Through quantum entanglement enhanced by bacterial consciousness, humanity had developed a way to transmit not just words, but complete sensory experiences across any distance instantly. A holographic image of High Admiral Kextol materialized in the center of Station Omega's command center. The Ascari leader's facial ridges were tight with barely contained rage and humiliation, but there was something else in his four-eyed gaze: fear. "What are you?" he demanded, his translator converting his chittering speech into clear English. "How did you hide this level of technology from our surveillance?" General Henderson stepped forward, her posture relaxed but commanding. "We didn't hide our technology, High Admiral. We simply operated on principles your civilization hasn't discovered yet. Your sensors couldn't detect our quantum systems for the same reason a radio can't pick up light waves. You were looking for the wrong things." In orbit, the contained Ascari ships hung motionless as their crews watched Earth's true defensive capabilities reveal themselves. The simple satellites they had dismissed transformed, quantum shells peeling away to reveal crystalline structures that defied conventional physics. "Impossible," Kextol whispered, watching the display. "Our civilization has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. We have encountered and conquered hundreds of species. None have ever considered the possibility of quantum consciousness." Dr. Chen interrupted, bringing up a holographic display of the deep-sea bacteria that had changed everything. "While you were mastering faster than light travel, we were learning to communicate with the smallest forms of life. They showed us that consciousness itself is a quantum phenomenon, one that could be harnessed and integrated with technology." The demonstration continued as Earth's defense systems revealed more of their capabilities. Quantum torpedoes that could track targets through multiple dimensions, shield systems that could predict and counter attacks before they were launched, communication networks that operated outside the normal bounds of spacetime. "Your civilization focused on domination," James Rodriguez explained, his hands moving through the holographic displays. "Ours focused on understanding. Every species you conquered, you forced to serve your empire. Every species we encountered, even the microscopic ones, we tried to learn from." In the quantum containment field, the Ascari crews watched as their own energy weapons were redirected, their signature patterns analyzed and replicated by Earth's defense systems. Each demonstration eroded their belief in their technological superiority. "But why maintain the deception?" Kextol demanded. "Why allow us to believe you were primitive?" General Henderson's smile was both warm and stern. "Because we needed to understand your intentions. 3 years ago, when your first scout ships entered our system, we could have destroyed them instantly. Instead, we watched, we learned. We gave you every opportunity to approach us peacefully." The quantum displays showed recordings of every Ascari communication, every strategic meeting, every plan they had made for Earth's conquest. The level of surveillance shocked even the hardened High Admiral. "Your empire is built on fear," Henderson continued. "You conquer because you believe it's the only way to ensure your survival. We're offering you a different path." With a gesture, she activated the quantum network's final revelation. The holographic display expanded, showing not just Earth's solar system, but the entire galaxy. Quantum consciousness networks stretched between the stars like a vast web of light. "We've been in contact with every species you've conquered," Dr. Chen explained. "Not their leaders. You control them too tightly. But their scientists, their dreamers, their hidden resistance movements, all waiting for a signal that change is possible." Kextol's facial ridges paled. "You would incite rebellion across the Empire." "No," General Henderson corrected. "We're offering evolution. Your Empire's technology is impressive, but it's reached its limits. We're offering something new, a partnership based on the exchange of knowledge rather than the exercise of power." Around Earth, the quantum containment field began to shift, creating corridors through which the Ascari ships could safely retreat if they chose. It was not just a demonstration of power, but of restraint. "You have a choice, High Admiral," Henderson continued. "Return to your empire and report that Earth is too well defended to conquer, though we suspect your superiors will not react well to such failure. Or stay, learn, and help us introduce your civilization to possibilities it never imagined." In the silence that followed, the quantum networks hummed with potential. Earth's defense systems remained ready, but their posture was no longer threatening. They were an invitation, not a warning. Kextol stared at the displays, watching the demonstration of technology that rendered everything he knew about warfare and conquest obsolete. His empire's mighty fleet had been contained without a single shot fired, held helpless by forces they couldn't even detect until it was too late. And as the High Admiral considered his options, the quantum networks carried his image across the galaxy to every subjugated world in the Asgari Empire. They watched, waited, and for the first time in 10,000 years, dared to hope for change. The counter-symphony had played its final note. Now it was time for the galaxy to hear a new song. News travels fast in an interconnected galaxy, but quantum consciousness moved even faster. Within hours of the Asgari fleet's containment, hidden quantum receivers on hundreds of worlds lit up with the impossible message. Earth had not merely defeated the Dominion's forces, they had rendered them helpless without destroying a single ship. On Silera Prime, once the artistic center of a peaceful civilization, before the Asgari conquered it, Dr. Mina Patil of Earth's secret quantum embassy watched as the underground resistance leaders received the news. On Silera Prime, once the artistic center of a peaceful civilization, before the Asgari conquered it, Dr. Mina Patil of Earth's secret quantum embassy watched as the underground resistance leaders received the news. Their bioluminescent skin pulsed with colors of hope and disbelief. "Is it true?" asked Zaraeth, the resistance leader whose real identity was hidden even from her own people. "Did your people really develop quantum consciousness technology?" "Not just developed it," Mina replied, activating a small quantum projector. The air shimmered, and suddenly they were standing in a perfect recreation of Station Omega's command center, watching Earth's defense systems neutralize the mighty Asgari fleet. "We mastered it, and we're ready to share it." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. On the desert world of Caraxus, where the Asgari had enslaved an entire species to mine precious minerals, quantum messages reached hidden enclaves deep underground. In the crystal cities of the Valerian Collective, now reduced to manufacturing centers for the Empire's war machines, scientists who had been forced to create weapons of conquest received detailed schematics of quantum consciousness interfaces. Back on Earth, General Henderson stood before the United Earth Council, delivering her report on the aftermath of the confrontation. The quantum projection system broadcast her words to hidden allies on every conquered world. "High Admiral Kextul's decision to accept our offer of partnership has created a cascade effect within the Dominion," she explained. "3 other fleet commanders have already made contact, expressing interest in what they're calling the Earth Alternative." In orbit, the Asgari ships that had chosen to stay were being escorted to special docking facilities hidden beneath the lunar surface. Their crews, under careful supervision, were getting their first glimpse of technology that operated on principles they had never imagined possible. Dr. Chen led the first technical exchange session, watching as Asgari engineers struggled to comprehend the basics of quantum consciousness integration. "Your civilization mastered the manipulation of matter and energy," she explained, displaying a hologram of interacting quantum fields. "We learned to communicate with it." The ripples spread further. On the Asgari homeworld itself, the first whispers of change began to circulate. The Empire had always maintained power through technological superiority. What would it mean when that superiority was suddenly questioned? James Rodriguez coordinated with quantum cells across the galaxy, watching as centuries of careful preparation finally bore fruit. The Asgari never realized that their conquest had actually united their victims. He explained to a group of Earth officials, "Every world they subjugated became another node in our quantum network, another civilization waiting for the right moment to evolve beyond the Empire's understanding." In the depths of Station Omega, High Admiral Kextul sat in quiet conversation with General Henderson, his worldview shifting with each passing hour. "Our empire was built on the belief that advancement comes through strength," he admitted. "But what you've shown us, it suggests we've been blind to whole dimensions of possibility." "That's the fundamental difference," Henderson replied. "Your civilization saw the galaxy as a resource to be conquered. We saw it as a community waiting to be connected. Every species, from the smallest bacteria to the most advanced civilizations, has something to teach us if we're willing to listen. The quantum networks hummed with increasing activity as more worlds joined the hidden conversation. Resistance movements that had operated in isolation for centuries suddenly found themselves connected, sharing information and hope across light years instantly. On conquered worlds throughout the galaxy, Ascari garrison commanders watched with growing unease as their supposedly primitive subjects began to change. Manufacturing plants produced slightly different products. Communication systems operated with subtle but significant differences. The changes were so gradual, so careful that they were almost impossible to detect, unless you knew exactly what to look for. Dr. Patel, coordinating from Silera Prime, watched the transformation with satisfaction. The quantum consciousness network isn't just a communication tool, she explained to Zorath. It's a key to understanding reality itself. The Ascari Empire built its power on controlling physical resources, but consciousness, that can't be conquered or contained. The ripples became waves, and the waves began to reshape the galaxy's power structures. The Ascari Empire, which had seemed unshakable for 10,000 years, found itself facing not a military rebellion, but something far more fundamental, an evolution in understanding that made their entire concept of power obsolete. And in Station Omega, Earth's defenders continued their work, knowing that the real challenge was just beginning. They hadn't just prevented an invasion. They had initiated a transformation that would reshape galactic civilization. The quantum networks pulsed with potential, carrying messages of change across the stars. The galaxy was awakening to new possibilities, and the ripples of Earth's revelation would soon become a tide that could not be stopped. 1 year after Earth's revelation, the galaxy had changed in ways that even humanity's quantum models hadn't fully predicted. The Great Hall of the newly established Galactic Concordat on Luna bustled with activity as representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered for a historic moment. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at a quantum observation post, watching as ships from across the galaxy arrived through designated quantum corridors. Among them were vessels of designs that hadn't been seen in millennia, the restored fleet of the Valerian Collective, the organic ships of the Celeran Alliance, each civilization emerging from the shadow of Ascari Dominion to reclaim its own identity. Quite a difference from last year, James Rodriguez commented, joining her at the observation post. Remember when those ships were trying to invade us? Sarah nodded, noting how the Ascari vessels now moved in formation with ships from worlds they had once conquered. The quantum consciousness network changed everything. It's hard to maintain an empire based on fear when every species can instantly share knowledge and understanding. In the main chamber of the Concordat, General Henderson prepared to address the assembled representatives. The quantum projection system would carry her words not just to those present, but to every world connected to the network, which now included even the most distant colonies of the former empire. 1 year ago, she began, her voice carrying across space and time. We faced a choice. We could have used our quantum technology to destroy the Ascari fleet, to take revenge for their attempted invasion. Instead, we chose to share understanding. Today, we see the results of that choice. The massive holographic display behind her showed the transformation that had swept the galaxy. The rigid hierarchies of the Ascari Empire had dissolved, replaced by a network of cooperating civilizations. Their quantum consciousness technology, combined with the unique insights of hundreds of species, had led to breakthroughs that transformed everything from space travel to environmental restoration. High Admiral Kextal, now serving as the liaison between former Ascari territories and the Concordat, stepped forward. His facial ridges rippled with what everyone now recognized as profound emotion. For 10,000 years, my people believed that power came from dominion over others. He addressed the gathering. Earth showed us a different kind of power, one that grows stronger by being shared. The quantum consciousness network has revealed that the galaxy is not a resource to be conquered, but a community to be nurtured. Dr. Meena Patel, recently returned from Silera Prime, presented the latest data from the Quantum Integration Initiative. Hundreds of worlds that had been stripped of their resources under Asgari rule were being restored through the application of quantum consciousness technology. Ancient cultures were being revived, not as museum pieces, but as living contributors to a new galactic civilization. The network has evolved beyond anything we initially imagined, she explained. Each civilization adds its own unique perspective, its own understanding of consciousness and reality. We're not just sharing technology. We're sharing ways of seeing and understanding the universe itself. In orbit above Earth, the Quantum Defense Network remained vigilant, but its purpose had shifted. Instead of serving as a barrier, it now functioned as a hub in the vast web of consciousness that connected the galaxy. The same technology that had contained the Asgari fleet now facilitated instantaneous travel and communication between worlds. We're detecting quantum consciousness signatures from previously unknown regions of space, James reported, examining the latest data. It seems other civilizations are emerging, drawn by the network's activity. Sarah smiled, remembering the early days when they had first discovered quantum consciousness in deep-sea bacteria. Every new connection brings new possibilities. The bacteria showed us that consciousness exists at every level of reality. Now we're learning just how deep those connections go. In the Concordat chamber, representatives from formerly conquered worlds shared their experiences of transformation. The Valerians spoke of reviving their crystal cities, now enhanced with quantum consciousness interfaces that allowed the buildings themselves to adapt to their inhabitants' needs. The Ctillarans demonstrated how their bioluminescent communication had been amplified by quantum technology, creating art that could be experienced simultaneously across the galaxy. Even the Asgari, their empire transformed into a federation of equal partners, contributed their centuries of space-faring knowledge to the collective wisdom of the Concordat. Their expertise in stellar engineering, freed from military applications, was helping to stabilize dying stars and restore damaged ecosystems. General Henderson concluded the assembly with a reflection on the journey that had brought them to this point. 1 year ago, Earth stood alone against what seemed to be an unstoppable force. Today, we stand together as part of something greater than any single civilization. The Quantum Consciousness Network has shown us that the true power of any species lies not in its ability to conquer, but in its capacity to connect and understand. As the assembly drew to a close, the quantum network hummed with the combined consciousness of billions of beings across thousands of worlds. The galaxy had awakened to a new reality, one where the barriers between civilizations dissolved in the face of shared understanding and purpose. And in Station Omega, where it had all begun, Dr. Chen made one final entry in the project logs. The silent sentinel that once guarded Earth has become a beacon, calling the galaxy toward a future none of us could have imagined alone. We have learned that the greatest defense isn't in weapons or walls, but in the connections we forge and the understanding we share. The dawn of this new age isn't just about humanity's survival. It's about the galaxy's transformation. The quantum networks pulsed with the rhythm of countless civilizations working in harmony, a symphony of consciousness that echoed across the stars. The age of conquest was over. The age of understanding had begun.